Leaving the Nevzarov ruins behind, Agoloth and his warband retreat to the Gossomer Grove, a forest of mystery and danger. Though this means lost treasure and riches for those who are willing to enter the forest. Tracking through the wilderness with a band of fighters and undead attracts much attention. Most woodland creatures take a wide berth from their foul stench, but others see them as intruders. Hello folks, and welcome to Dice Chatter. We continue Frostgrave Season 2 with another custom battle scenario for Agoloth the Doomwhisperer and his warband. And this time it seems the trees have deemed him a threat. Before we get into the game, we will cover the wizards, their spells, the warband they have hired, the scenario, and any other pre-game shenanigans. So without further ado, let's dive in. Agoloth the Doomwhisperer and his apprentice Jim are looking to escape the wilderness intact. Of course, he will focus on the necromancy school of magic and hopefully turn the tide of battle in his favor. Also keep in mind the tracker in Agoloth's company has been given an upgraded bow from their last encounter, and they have some coin to spend for upgrades after this battle. So let's jump on over to the meat and bones of the group. For Agoloth's warband, we have a Dark Templar, the infamous tracker, an apothecary, a zombie left over from last encounter, and a number of thieves and thugs to round out the list. For the wilds, we have our wizard, the Branch Witch, and her trusty apprentice, an owlbear. This bear may be special, but it has no magical abilities. For the dryad though, she will be focusing on the witch school of magic as well as a handful of other spells. These denizens of the grove are on their home turf. Let's hope they can defend what is theirs. For the warband, we have two strong mystical revenants who will be infantrymen, and the rest of the squad will be these dryadic thugs. Moving on over to the scenario today, we have another custom solo narrative battle. Agoloth and his warband have encroached too deep into the wilds, and nature is fighting back. All the dryads and woodland creatures are focused on removing Agoloth and his warband from the table rather than gathering up treasure. For the detailed rules, check the description. Otherwise, listen up. Set up the board to showcase a lush wilderness, and keep in mind, it's a miniatures game. Don't clog the board up too much. Here's a nice look at the table. Once this is complete, set up a central treasure and two other treasures within 8 inches, and following this, we need to set up the warbands. The Dryadic warband can be set up to 6 inches out from their edge of the table, while Agoloth and his warband must be set up within 3 inches of the table's edge. Anytime a treasure is picked up, roll a die. There is a chance another dryad will appear on the table, and a smaller chance a terrifying bear will emerge. And finally, if the Branch Witch or the Owlbear are defeated in this combat, Agoloth will get an additional 20 experience points. Before we start the game, we have some pre-game rolls. First is Brew Potion. Both spellcasters will try to make a potion of fire breathing, mainly because it sounds cool. For Agoloth, we need a 14 and Jim a 16, and it looks like Jim is successful. The potion will be given to the Templar at the start of the game. The final pre-game spell to be cast is Reveal Secret. Big numbers here, Agoloth needs a 16 and Jim an 18, and what do you know, they both are successful. Gonna be some nice treasures to open up after this game. So with all the pre-game rolls complete, let's roll some turn 1 initiative. For turn 1 of this game, it looks like the Necromancer squeaks out the victory and will start things off in the wizard phase. The Templar will go first this round. He will take his slow movement and simply double move up the board, getting closer to the action. Agoloth will follow up with a move as well and get close to this strong soldier. Agoloth will then attempt to cast Leap on the Templar. The spell is successful on a 10 and he gets a 12. This means the Templar will fly forward up the board and land just in front of the central treasure. Some combat will be had soon enough. To finish off the wizard phase for Agoloth, we just have 2 movements. The apothecary will move up the board and get close to her wizard, keeping him safe, and this thief will run up the board, getting closer to one of the treasures, hoping to pick it up next round. We now jump on over to the wilds. A number of movements will occur first for the Dryadic warband. Both of these wispy revenants and this single dryad will move up the board, seeing that the intruders have entered their forsaken grove. They sense the enemy and want to eliminate them from this realm. The Branch Witch wizard has some plans of her own. She will move atop this small mossy stone and cast the mud spell far up the table. This spell is successful on a 10, and with a 16, the ground is considered rough terrain over this large swath of soil. Also, if you want to know how I made this permanent spell effect, a tag should be popping up in the corner now. Alright, enough shameless plugging. Let's move on over to the apprentice phase. Jim will start things off this phase. He will move up the board and then attempt to cast Bones of the Earth on the Revenant far up the table. He needs an 11 to be successful, but he rolls a 9. You will just take a couple points of damage to empower the spell and cause the treeman to be locked in place. Jim coming in the clutch once again. For the rest of the apprentice phase, the zombie, a thief, and a thug will double move up the board and get closer to the mess at the center of the table. After all these moves, we hop on over to the owlbear and his tree buddies. A simple turn for the wilds here. The owlbear and the rest of his tree pals will simply spend their turn double moving up the board, trying to squeeze by ruins and other various terrain pieces to get closer to the enemies afoot. Once all of these moves are complete, we move on over to the final phase of the round, the soldier phase. We will start with the tracker. We shall see if this soldier still has some fight in him from the last battle. He will move up the table and take a shot at the branch witch high upon the stone. We have a +3 fight to the witch's +2, and the arrow finds its mark, dealing 2 damage to the dryadic leader. To finish up the soldier phase, we just have a couple movements. A thief and a thug will make their way up the board, and that will be the end of the soldier phase and the battle round. The 2 warbands are getting set up, closing in on the treasure. I'm sure some blood will be spilt this next battle round, or in the case of the trees, some firewood will be made. Let's roll some initiative. For round 2, it looks like Agoloth will be going first, once again. To start off the wizard phase, the tracker is just in range of Agoloth to get the first go. He will once again fire an arrow at the dryad leader. An arrow is released, and this time it was a terrible shot. Now, Agoloth will go next, get right to the edge of the mud plastered on the battlefield, and then attempt to cast Petrify on the branch witch. The spell is successful on a 12, and a 16, well, works. The enemy wizard needs a 12 to resist the spell's effect, and an 11 will not do. A strong play by Agoloth. Following this, the orange thief will charge forward to the treasure to the left and have another action to pick up the prize. This produces a roll to see if any other woodland allies appear on the table, and with a 19, a terrifying bear emerges. This game just got a lot more spicy. To finish off Agoloth's wizard phase, the apothecary will make his way up to the orange thief to give him a helping hand. Despite the extra help, the branch witch has been halted for this wizard phase due to the Petrify spell, and even worse, she has no allies within 3 inches to activate alongside her, so unfortunately for the dryads, they have to pass things over to Agoloth and start the apprentice phase. To speed things up, these 3 fighters, the 2 thugs and this zombie, will move up in unison just past the thief. They will create a bear barricade for Jim and hopefully get some strong hits in on the beast. Jim, on the other hand, has plans of his own. Down the table just past the revenant who is being held in place is another dryad. Jim looks to inflict the same spell on this woodland creature. Bones of the Earth is successful on an 11, and he rolls an 8. He'll decide once again to empower the spell, taking 3 damage, but he will hold another foe in place. This will then turn things over to the owlbear and its apprentice phase. The big bear will go first, double move around the ruin and get right into combat range of the thief holding the treasure. The rest of the trees will follow suit. 2 of the dryads have the chance to move as a group and follow that up with an attack into the apothecary. We have a +4 fight into the humans +1, and the apothecary manages to dodge and parry, finessing 3 damage back into one of the attacking dryads. This final solo dryad will move up and engage the Templar, and have another action for an attack. A +2 to the Templar's +4, and despite the Templar's bonus, a wooden spear pierces through his armor and he takes a big 5 damage. This will then turn things over to the soldier phase for Agoloth. We tackle the simple movements first. This thief will double move and make his way to the treasure on the right side of the board. This will put him right next to the treasure so it can be picked up next turn. Now onto the combats. The Templar wants some revenge. We have a +4 fight to the Dryad's +2, and this time he gets just a little revenge, dealing 2 points of damage into the tree monster. The Apothecary, outnumbered and outgunned, has to try something here. She will attack the already damaged Dryad. a +1 to a +4, and no luck this time for the potion maker, who takes 2 damage. After this turn, we move on over to the Branch Witch's Soldier phase. We have 4 fighters to activate for the wilds. This Revenant will go first, move up to the Templar and attack the fighter. We have a big +5 to the Templar's +4, and the humanoid swings back, dealing 5 damage. We turn things over to the bear that emerged earlier this round. He smells death and charges towards it and claws at the zombie. We have a +5 for the group of fighters and a +4 for the bear, and no damage is dealt to the walking corpse or the bear. This finally leads us to the 2 trees stuck in place by the bones. They will each attempt to free themselves. The Revenant is successful and will move up to the Templar after, while the poor Dryad is unsuccessful and actually ends up taking a whopping 7 damage from the spell. That is not good. This will end turn number 2. Lots of action this battle round, and it will be key to see who ends up going first in battle round 3. And with that initiative roll, the trees finally get their chance to act first. Turn 3 Wizard phase, and the Branch Witch is the only fighter to act. She is no longer petrified and will decide to stay put and cast Curse on the Templar. This spell is successful on an 8, and the Tree Lord will empower the spell, taking a point of damage to curse the enemy fighter. The Dark Templar may not be long for this world. The Branch Witch will then move down and out of the tracker's deadly range. This will shift things over to Agoloth's Wizard phase. The tracker will go first and sees that his prey has moved. He will shift as well and fire an arrow into the mess of fighters. The target has been determined to be the closest Dryad. A +3 to a +2, and another arrow flies by and does no harm. Agoloth will then go and move to his left, and then cast Leap on the thief holding the treasure. He needs an 8, and it looks like the thief has been flung out of combat, at least for a short while. This will turn things on over to the Apprentice phase. The owlbear's prey has vanished and will move over to the ruins and attempt to squeeze past this tree, well, is frankly undoable. So the beast will go after the apothecary. We have a +8 to a +1, and what do you know, this apothecary is an absolute monster and slams 10 damage back into the owlbear. Since the apothecary won the combat, she will choose to back up and really close off the tiny path to Agoloth and the treasure holder. The other 2 Dryads will now act and push into the apothecary. Both will attack as well. The first strike and the second strike are strong, doing 9 damage, and this is plenty of damage, eviscerating the strong warrior. Her deeds will not go unnoticed. We turn things over to Jim. He activates this phase alone. He will move up the board, getting closer to the bear bandits, and then cast Steal Health on the Dryad far up the table. The spell is successful on a 12. We will also roll the will save at a -1. The dice are rolled and the life force is sucked from the Dryad and is taken down. Keep in mind this also heals Jim up 3 hit points as well. With his turn complete, we will turn over to the Branch Witch's Soldier phase. A number of activations here, and all of them are attacking the Templar. The Revenant with the curved sword will stab first. We have a big, strong +7 to the Templar's cursed +4, and the Dark Templar has apparently been in this situation before and swings back 5 damage, killing the already damaged Revenant. The other mystical tree being will attempt to avenge his brethren's death. A +5 now into the damaged Templar, and 9 damage is, well, more than enough to take down this heavy foe. This leaves the Dryad the chance to move, and unfortunately for Agoloth, his thief near the treasure is next on the chopping block. We transition to the brown thief, who will move up and block this thin path through to the treasure and Agoloth. A smart move. Hopefully he survives. This turns things over to the squad attacking the bear. The zombie will attack first, and he manages 10 damage. Wow. The thug holding a big old sack, well, he whiffs as he is carrying around way too much extra weight. Yet the last thug is able to axe into the bear's skull, taking the beast out of play. This leaves the final activation for the thief in combat with the Dryad. He has yet to pick up the treasure, but must attack. A +1 to the tree's +2, and the Dryad pierces in 4 damage to the armless thief. This will end the soldier phase as well as battle round 3. So far, a back and forth battle. Agoloth thought these creatures would be easy to handle. It turns out they are very resilient. We roll some turn 4 initiative, and it seems that Agoloth has taken the order back in his favor. We begin the wizard phase with Agoloth. The orange thief carrying the lonely treasure will lift his heavy burden towards the edge of the table. To help him with this, Agoloth will spend his turn moving down a wee bit, and then casting Leap on the treasure bearer. This spell is easily cast, and practically one chest has been earned on this difficult mission. We'll then turn things over to the Branch Witch, who has a plethora of options. She will stay put though and attempt to cast Poison Dart on the thief in combat with the dryad. The spell is successful on a 10, and it is cast. We have a +3 shot to the thief's +1 armor, and the unexpected bolt of poison just eviscerates the human. It may be difficult to gather up this second treasure now. It is the apprentice phase for Jim now. He is just in range of the zombie and the closest thug, so they will act as well. The thug has enough movement to get to the edge of the ruins, climb them, and get into combat range of the dryad. The zombie moves so slow he will start taking the long way around the ruins. For Jim, he will be taking a risk. He will move up the table to get a good view of his foes, and he will then attempt to cast Bones of the Earth on the nearby Revenant. The spell is successful on an 11, but he utterly fails, taking a point of damage in the process. Some lackluster turns for Agoloth as we move over to the Owlbear and his neighboring pals. One of the dryads has just enough movement to move over the ruins and make their way right next to Agoloth. The other treemen will attempt to squeeze in this gap and get into combat range of the thief, creating a nice barricade. While the Owlbear realizes it doesn't have too many places to go, it will backtrack and head towards the other side of the board to assist. After this, the soldier phase will begin. 3 fighters get to act for Agoloth. The thug with his large sack has just enough movement to get up and right next to Jim to offer some needed future protection. Turning over to the tracker, he will shift around the mud still on the ground and fire an arrow at the solo revenant. A +3 to the +3 armor of the tree, and once again, the arrow flies past its mark. The final action for Agoloth is the thief holding back this dryad. He'll attempt to attack the monster. A +1 to a +2, and the thief ends up taking 6 points of damage. For the Branch Witch's soldier phase, we have 2 final actions. The Revenant will go first and move over to Jim and the thug. This mystical being will attack Jim. A +3 to a +2, and the tree monster pierces in 11 damage, which is enough to take out the apprentice. How the tables have turned. The dryad has a chance to attack now and will slash into the thug. A +2 to another +2, and this thug, well, he came out to play and chops down the attacking dryad in front of him. Despite the strong play from the thug, things are actually looking bleak for Agoloth and his warband, as we roll for some turn 5 initiative. And maybe Agoloth has a chance here. He gets to go first, once again. Hopes are slim for Agoloth and his warband, and he is forced into combat with the dryad. We have a +2 against another +2, and it looks like at least the wizard has some fight left in him, dealing a massive 8 damage into the creature. We turn on over to the Branch Witch's wizard phase. She will take her turn moving up the table once again, firing a poison dart into the enemy next to the treasure. This spell is definitely cast on a natural 20, and after that shooting attack, the thug ends up taking a big 6 damage. And even more unfortunate for Agoloth, there is no apprentice phase for him, so the Owlbear gets to move next. And where do you think this Owlbear is going? Right next to the thug who is so close to grabbing the treasure. After the bear gets in position, Agoloth has one more shot to make things happen in his soldier phase. The forgotten zombie has just enough movement to get over and up the ruin to support this thug in combat. Then the thug will fight for his life. A +4 to another +4, and he manages to slam in a big 9 damage back into the furry beast. The thug and the revenant will tussle next. A +3 to the thug's +2, and the human takes 4 damage, and that is a wound that will need to be mended. On over to the thief and the dryad, both fighting for their lives. A +1 to the dryad's +2, and the thief finds a weak spot in the tree and takes out a monster. maybe there is some hope for Agoloth. The tracker will go next, stay put and fire an arrow into the branch witch, a +3 to a +2, and the wizard is almost taken out, as she just barely hangs on from the attack. To finish off Agoloth's soldier phase, a treasure will be recovered. Definitely a victory for Agoloth and his warband. Yet the branch witch still has some combats as well. We will start with the dryad attacking Agoloth. A +2 to the wizard's +2 defense, and it turns out Agoloth can do some work in a scrum as he manages to take out the assailant. One final combat, the revenant and the thug. A +3 to the thug's +2, and his beanbag didn't get in the way of him this time, dealing 5 damage back. This will end battle round 5. A long game, but the board is pretty much bare bones. Let's see who wins the roll-off. And once again, Agoloth takes the lead. For turn 6, Agoloth will be the only activation as he has his sights set on the branch witch. He will cast Steal Health on the Tree Lord, needing a 10 on the die for the spell and 4 higher than the branch witch's roll to pass the will save. But who needs to know all that? With that natural 20, the life force is sucked from the witch and she is defeated. The owlbear is enraged by the death of its leader and lashes out at a thug. A +4 to a +4 again, and both combatants fight until their last breath, killing each other in the process. It seems the wilds have been tamed for now. Even on the brink of his warband's death, Agoloth and his band of misfits managed to squeak out this victory. They lost many fighters this battle. The thieves and thugs managed to recover, along with the apothecary, who has been named by one of my patrons. She will now be called Esmeralda for her valiant effort on the tabletop. If this is something you'd like to be involved in, check out the Patreon. Alas, not all good news. The Dark Templar could not recover from the blows he took from the wilds. And even worse, Jim, he didn't make it as well. A new apprentice will have to be acquired before the next battle. During the battle, Agoloth did manage to gain some confidence. He will boost his fight stat by 1 and make Bones of the Earth easier to cast. For treasure, the warband managed to gather up 160 gold crowns, some +1 light armor, and a couple of grimoires. One of Illusionary Soldier, and the other Spell Eater. He will also spend his plethora of gold crowns to recruit a strong barbarian and a treasure hunter to bolster up his forces. So there you have it, folks, a back and forth battle for Agoloth the Doomwhisperer and his warband. I hope you enjoyed this battle report, and let me know in the comments if this is content you enjoy and would like to see more of in the future. Also, I started up the Patreon again, so if you want to have some hand in helping these battle reports and frankly all the videos on the channel with some financial support, I would be most appreciative. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all the other socials. I want to thank you all for watching, and of course, happy gaming.